Hey everybody, this weekend's walk-around tractor features one that, in my opinion, has as much historical significance as any. What we've got here today is Harold Pond's very first Speedex riding tractor, which is a Model B. Harold Pond's claim to fame was having the first mass-produced riding garden tractor brought to market in 1939, which was to bridge the gap between essentially a walk-behind tractor and a mule. Now, I could argue that that may or may not be true, as Sears brought out the David Bradley Handyman RT, and there were others as well, but it's Harold's claim to fame anyway. So this right here is really what put Speedex on the map as far as lawn and garden tractors. It's a Model B that was derived off of their earlier walk-behind tractor, the Model A. It's powered by a Briggs & Stratton Model Z engine. The earliest ones had a Z before they went to a ZZ. They use recycled automotive parts as well. Being the fact that this is pre-World War II and a little earlier, they actually use a Model T rear end, or the differential, that they added full gears to. So it's a Model T rear end, a Model A 3-speed transmission, and this is, I think, kind of the neatest, funkiest clutch I've ever seen on a garden tractor. It's not a clutch, essentially, very similar to what Garden Master did later. Speedex used a series of belts and pulleys. So coming off of the crankshaft of the Briggs engine, there's two pulleys with the belts that run up to this tower here, and as you depress the clutch pedal forward, it raises this tower, which puts pressure on the belts, or tension on the belts, and that's what makes the tractor drive. If you're not used to this system, it takes a little bit to get used to, because you're used to pushing a clutch pedal forward to disengage it and releasing it to move forward, which is exactly the opposite. These tractors didn't have brakes. Depending on parts that Harold found at the time, there are a few Model Bs out there with foot brakes, but there's more without than with them. The first Model Bs were built in 1939, as I mentioned. They built them from 1939 to about 1943-ish. They're really fun to collect because every year they made some pretty significant changes. The more common year of the B, I'm not sure if it's true based off of production volume or not, but I tend to see more 1941s, a few more 1942s than any of them. This particular example in our collection is a 1941 version, which you can identify off the bat by this cast front axle. 40s and 41s use this cast front end. In 1942, they went to more of an arched wide front axle. And then when you're looking at them even closer, you've got a tractor narrowed down to a 40 or a 41 by that axle. Then you go to the rear wheels. And the 1940s had 4-bolt rear wheels. In 1941, they went to a 5-bolt rear wheel. And when all else fails, you can test your infinite Speedex knowledge by looking at the rear of the clutch housing for the tower, and the year will always be stamped on a Model B tractor. That's 1941. Pretty neat tractors. Some of my favorite. It was in 1948 that Harold Pond got a cease and desist from Ford, not so much for the production of this tractor, but for another model, an FG he had, which we'll dig into a little bit later. And it was at that time when he went back to the drawing board, and he essentially engineered his own drivetrain, his own rear end, and that was basically the end of the Model B, which then got replaced with what's referred to as a Model M23 model that used Harold And I imagine part of it too probably has to do with the availability of junkyard parts that were in good shape to use, at least consistently. So anyway, this is a 1941 Speedex Model B. This particular example was owned and restored by a good friend of mine, Mark Winnie in Georgia. Beautiful little tractor. He did a fantastic job of restoring it, paying attention to a lot of the little original detail, and it's one that I'm proud to have in our collection. So anyway, hope you enjoy it. As always, have a great weekend. Until next time, bye.